Peace and wellness, family. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole and all that good stuff. I hope that y'all can hear me well. I did something a little different with my mic, so I hope that the audio is crisp and clear. Y'all let me know in the chat if it's not. Shout out to the wellness community. I see y'all butterflies in the sky. I see y'all in the chat. Much love and much wellness. Shout out to all of our moderators. I see you, Kwani, and Universal Lighthouse. Everybody, I see y'all. I appreciate the love and the support dearly. First and foremost, I want to say happy 11/11 day. This is a powerful day for manifestation. This is a powerful day for elevation and for moving in divine alignment. This is also a very powerful day to really enjoy freedom. See, today is a not only 11/11 day, which is a master day of wisdom and knowledge, but it's also a 4 day. And 4 is all about manifesting divine alignment with culture and freedom, right? And really tapping into the energy of freedom. So, shout out to a Master 4 day, a Master Freedom Day. And we're going to talk a little bit about manifesting your highest divine self. I want to be very clear about the intention for this video. In this video, I want us to discuss what it means to show up as your highest divine self. And we're going to do that by talking about some ways to identify your highest divine self. What are some key aspects of your highest divine self? I also want to talk about some steps that we can take to actually show up as and manifest our highest divine self, and some signs to know that you are truly aligned with your highest divine self and have manifested as your highest divine self. Before we get to that, I also want to acknowledge that today, 11/11/2025, is also Veterans Day, right? And I have to acknowledge Veterans Day, and it's so interesting because this Veterans Day specifically, I don't know. I really have been reflecting deeply on what it means to be a veteran, right? And the great impact that serving has had on a lot of not a lot of veterans, but specifically Black veterans, right? In my own family, we have many people who have served, especially in the Air Force. My family loves a good Air Force, honey. But in the Air Force and the Marine Corps, we have a few Army veterans. That for many Black families specifically, but especially in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, a lot of Black men specifically took the Army, took the Marine Corps, took the Air Force as their way out of poverty, right? And oftentimes, a lot of Black people specifically will choose to join the military, not because they're patriotic or, they love this country so much, because as we know, in this country, Black people have rarely, if ever, gotten the opportunity to receive the full benefits of American citizenship, right? But they choose to serve because there's so many benefits of survival that come with serving, right? Like the opportunity to be able to feed your family, the opportunity to receive education, right? Through the GI Bill, the opportunity to be able to get health care, the opportunity to be able to get out of your community that may be impoverished, right? And I think about the cost of that, right? In my own family, we had quite a few family members who served in Vietnam, and they came home with Agent Orange, which was a sickness that many veterans who served in Vietnam had gotten. And it caused essentially the body to shut down over time. And I actually have two elder cousins who both transitioned years apart from Agent Orange as a result of serving, right? The PTSD, all of those things has been heavy on me today. I've been contemplating them and reflecting on them a lot. I had one cousin who served many years in the Air Force, over 20 plus years. And he could have retired, but he could not retire because he was afraid that if he sat at home too long, the PTSD would be the end of him. He was still serving despite having PTSD and clear signs of PTSD. I'm talking about that everything had to be very low around him. The TV couldn't be played too loud because any loud noise would trigger an episode in him, And I don't want to exacerbate the point here, but I just wanted to acknowledge that, right? When we talk about Veterans Day and we acknowledge Veterans Day, there are so many different things that come along with being a veteran that we don't talk about enough. And I think one of the reasons reasons we should be grateful for our veterans, regardless of how you feel about America or how you feel about the military. Today is the day that I like to honor the people who served for whatever reason you served, whether you served because you were a patriot or you served because you were trying to survive or you served because you had children that you needed to take care of or a family who needed support. Regardless of whatever reason you served, I wanted to acknowledge and share my appreciation for the veterans and acknowledge the price that they paid for their service and the price that many of them continue to pay, right? So much love to all the veterans. May you be well and may you receive a lifetime full of joy, peace, healing, abundance, and just overall holistic wellness. Truly and deeply, I'm very, very grateful for your energy and much love to all of the veterans. Now, let's get into our intention for this video, right? Again, today is 11/11, and we're talking about manifestation. And a lot of people, in the holistic wellness world, when we talk about manifestation, you will often hear the terms like your higher self or your highest self or your higher divine self or highest divine self. And a lot of people are like, what is that, right? What is the highest divine self or the higher self? Like, what does that mean? And I wanted to be very clear about what that means. I first want to, acknowledge that one of the reasons that I am so confident and so comfortable, not just talking about this subject, but teaching about this subject, is because I am a manifestation of what it feels like and looks like to be in full alignment with your highest divine self. A huge part of my journey has always been about showing up as my highest divine self and doing the work to stay in alignment with my highest divine self. And evidence that I have done that, aside from the physical evidence, right? Like I've been blessed to manifest my own very successful business. I've been blessed to travel this world in every country that is on the very first vision board that I did in college. I have been to, right, and traveled to some a couple of times. I've been blessed to attract financial security and all of that. But aside from just the physical things, right, the penthouse apartment in the sky and all of that, I want to acknowledge the internal feeling. I am genuinely happy. I am genuinely joyful. I am genuinely standing in the energy of love. I feel love. I feel joy. I feel peace. And most importantly, I am proud of who I am as a person, as a human being. I am proud of myself, holistically proud of myself, not just because of the physical things I've manifested, but because of who I am and how I show up in the energy I carry. I am proud of myself. And to me, that is what it looks like. And that is just the result of aligning with your highest divine self. I'm proud of the decisions I make. I'm proud of how I think. I'm proud of my emotions and how I deal with my emotions. I'm proud of the people I attract and the things that I attract and the energy that's around me. I am proud of myself, and that is a reflection of the work that it takes and the work that I've done to truly align with my highest divine self. So, how do you know you are aligning with your highest divine self? What does it mean to align with your highest divine self? What does that look like, feel like, all of that? First, I think it's important to identify what is the highest divine self. So, I wrote down 5 ways to identify the highest divine self. And I want to start with the first one, which is we have to understand that your highest divine self knows what's best for you and wants what's best for you. When you are truly manifesting as your highest divine self and you are in full alignment with your highest divine self, you know what's best for you and you genuinely want what's best for you. Your highest divine self just knows. Your highest divine self is very clear about your wellness and what wellness looks like for you, what wellness feels like for you. Your highest divine self is clear about your wellness, knows what's best for you, and wants what's best for you. The second thing, your highest divine self knows when something is aligned with you and when it is not aligned with you. Again, going to that clarity. Your highest divine self is decisive. And I'm going to say that again. Your highest divine self is decisive. Your highest divine self knows exactly what is aligned with you and what is not. Your highest divine self knows who is aligned with you and who is not. It is decisive. It just knows. And oftentimes we call that this divine knowing, right? But that divine knowing is really your highest divine self connected with the highest divine source. It knows what is well for you. It knows what is best for you. It wants what's best for you. Therefore, it knows who and what is aligned with the best version of you. It is decisive and decisive about everything. Decisive about the people that you are around, decisive about the environments that you are in, decisive about what you're putting in your body, what you're watching, what you're listening to, decisive about where you want to go and goals. Your highest divine self is decisive because it knows what is well for you, right? The third way to identify your highest divine self is secure. Your highest divine self is very secure, very confident, and grounded because your highest divine self is moving in full wellness. It is aligned with wellness. So it is secure, it is safe, it is protected, it is grounded, deeply connected to the universal all, deeply connected to self, deeply connected to other people and other energy beings. Your highest divine self is deeply connected. It is secure, it is safe, it is grounded, it is confident, right? And then the fourth way to know is your highest divine self is a guide to yourself and a natural inspiration to others. When you are manifesting as your highest divine self, you are naturally a guide to yourself. Again, that's that coming with that clarity, that divine knowing, that intuition, right? You are a guide to yourself and a natural inspiration to other people because other people will see the glow. They will see how you're manifesting. They will feel the energy. They will feel the connection. They will feel the security and the safety in your presence. And even if they're not in your physical presence, when they think of your energy, they feel the safety, the security, the confidence, the peace, the joy, right? So people will naturally be inspired by you and by your energy when you are moving in your highest divine self. But that's because your highest divine self is a natural guide for you, right? Now, the fifth way to identify your highest divine self is your highest divine self is a protector of your wellness. Your highest divine self will not allow you to do, say, or be around anything or anyone that is going to diminish your wellness. Your highest divine self is a natural protector of your wellness. And it's important to know that, right? So, if you can connect with all five of those key identities, then you are manifesting as your highest divine self. And it takes some time to get there. But again, that security, that confidence, that divine knowing, right? That is how you know. Being sure and certain about what wellness looks like and feel like for you, genuinely feeling well, genuinely feeling joy and peace and love and abundance, safe, protected. All of that is our signs, clear key signs and identities of your highest divine self. I will tell you, and again, I want to speak in manifestation language specifically. So I don't want to focus on too much on the nots and the don'ts, right? But I have to tell you this part. Anything that is moving in opposition of your wellness is not in alignment with your highest divine self. Anything that is challenging and pushing back or suppressing your wellness is not in alignment with your highest divine self. So if you are moving or thinking or behaving or attracting anything that is diminishing or suppressing your wellness, you are not manifesting as your highest divine self. And sometimes it is our own thought patterns, it is our own behaviors, it is our own desires. And I'm talking about desires of the ego that will have us move away from our highest divine self. And for many people, their biggest challenge is that work. Their biggest challenge is not moving in ways that they've been accustomed to moving, even if it's working against their wellness. So, we know steps, we know the keys to identify your highest divine self, right? But let's talk about how to manifest that. How do we do that work to move away from those things that are pulling us away from our highest divine self? And more importantly, how do we do the work to actually manifest as our highest divine self so that we can feel that holistic wellness, we can feel that peace, that security, that safety, we can feel that clarity and fully be aligned with our highest divine self and manifesting as our highest divine self. Now, this is going to be quick. I'm going to run through these 5 steps. The first step is to build trust with self. And building trust with self looks like when you feel that little voice, when you feel your highest divine self and you hear your highest divine self guiding you on what to do, what not to do, what's aligned with you, what's not aligned with you, you trust it enough to go with it. Even if that place or that person or that thing or that behavior is customary and it's what you know and it's tempting because it's your comfort zone, sometimes being aligned with your highest divine self requires you to get uncomfortable because your comfort zone has been a lower vibration than what your highest possible vibration is, right? So, building trust with self looks like when you get that feeling that this is not the place, when you get that divine knowing that I don't need to be doing this or I do need to be doing this thing, when you get that, hear that voice in your mind, in your head, in your ear telling you, make the left instead of the right, stay away from that person, go speak to that person, go connect with that person and build that relationship. Don't do that thing or don't say that thing. Or right now, you need to say a prayer or take some time to meditate. Silence the TV, turn down the music, spend some time in solitude. When you hear those little voices and or you get that divine feeling, that divine knowing that this is how you should be moving or how you shouldn't be moving, you trust it. You have to trust it. Even if it requires you to move outside of your norm, you have to trust it. And that's the process of building trust with self. And I think that oftentimes people don't trust themselves because in the past you have made a series of decisions that have worked against your wellness, and in those times you thought you was doing what was best for you, right? See, sometimes people have gotten in relationships, people have taken jobs in certain positions, people have made certain moves that they convinced themselves was best for them and it didn't work out. So you don't necessarily trust yourself. But I want to ask you, what told you that that was best for you? What told you that that decision was the right decision in that moment, right? Because it's important for you to understand the voice. Sometimes it's not your intuition that may have been speaking to you, it may have been your ego, right? Which then brings us to the second step. The second step is to learn to distinguish between your ego versus your intuition. And in order to do this, you need to get to know your ego, which is your external identity, and get to know your spirit self, which is your internal identity. Many times, our ego, our external identity will tell us, go this way or do this thing, because that is what pleases us in the moment, right? That may be what makes you feel good in the moment, right? And this is usually the difficult part about understanding the ego versus the spirit, because the ego is not a bad thing. It's the lack of control that can make the ego work against you. You have to know how to mind and control your ego, how to mind and control your external identity, right? Sometimes the ego will tell you to go to the place or to do the thing or get into the relationship with the person or whatever, 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 make that drastic move. The ego will tell you to do that because the external identity enjoys validation from others. The external identity enjoys temporary fun. The external identity enjoys to flex and to look a certain way. The external identity enjoys all of these external reinforcers, and these external reinforcers make the inside feel good. But when you're moving from a spiritual space, the internal manifests the external. When you feel good on the inside, you manifest all of the external elevation and the external reinforcers. So that's one way to tell the difference between the ego guiding you and the spirit guiding you. When you are moving out of spirit, you feel well internally and then the external comes. But when you're moving out of ego, the good things happen externally and then the internal feels good. You see what I'm saying? So it happens in the opposite direction. You always want to move from spirit. You should feel good about your decision before actually completing the decision. You should feel good about what you're going to do or what you're going to say before you actually do or say it. And then when you complete the action, the external will usually align with that internal good feeling. But the ego just says and does and moves with the hope that the external will have a positive thing happen. And then that'll make you feel good on the inside. You see what I'm saying? Always move with spirit. And again, that connects to that building trust aspect, right? I also have to acknowledge that something that's interesting about the ego, and again, always have to acknowledge that the ego is not a bad thing, but it's the lack of control of the ego. Something that's interesting about the ego is that oftentimes people will damn the ego, people will curse the ego because the ego is deeply connected to these things that society will tell you are good or bad, high or low, up or down, right? And your ego wants to engage and wants to judge all of these things, but spirit sees everything as neutral, and your spirit self knows that it has the ability to transmute any and everything for its wellness. It's about how are you going to do it? What are you going to do it for? What is your intention or purpose for that thing? Spirit knows that everything is neutral. Ego makes harsh judgments, right? So, a way to distinguish when your ego is speaking to you versus when your spirit is speaking to you, when your intuition is speaking to you, is the voice attached to a judgment? Is your voice telling you this is evil, this is high, this is low, this is good, this is bad? That's ego. If it's attached to a judgment, that's ego. Your spirit just knows whether or not it's aligned with you. It being aligned with you or not does not determine good or bad, up or down, high or low. It doesn't determine that. It just determines, is this for your wellness or not? And just because it's not for your wellness does not mean that it's not for somebody else's wellness, which is why it's not good or bad, up or down, high or low. It's just not aligned with your wellness. But it doesn't make that person bad or that thing bad or that place bad. It just means that it's not aligned with you. But it may be perfectly aligned with somebody else's wellness, and that is okay. So if you are trying to decide, is this ego speaking to me or is this my highest divine self speaking to me? You need to observe for a judgment. Is there judgment here? Are you being critical? Are you being harsh? That is the ego. The ego is judgmental. The ego is overly critical. The ego can be harsh, right? But spirit is neutral. Spirit just knows what's best for you and want what's best for you, and spirit will attract you or have other things have the external attract to you based on what is well for you. Okay. So that's the second step. The second step to manifesting as your highest divine self. Again, learn to distinguish between your ego versus intuition. And I have a whole nother video on this channel specifically about ego versus intuition. It's an older video, probably like 2022, 2023, or something like that. You can definitely go get more details on how to distinguish the two in that video. Um, the third step to manifesting or aligning with your highest divine self is to get comfortable with solitude. Get comfortable with solitude. You have to get comfortable with standing alone, with being alone. When you are manifesting as your highest divine self, it's going to take a lot of time of you being in solitude and being alone and getting comfortable with getting to know all of you. And when I say all of you, I'm talking about from a holistic perspective. You need to get to know your spirit. You need to get to know your mind. You need to get to know your physical. And when I say physical, I'm not just talking about the physical body, I'm talking about the physical body in alignment with the environment, in connection with the environment, in connection with the universe, right? And also get to know your emotions. And in order to do that, in order to really study yourself, you have to get comfortable being in solitude, right? And this is another reason you got to get comfortable being in solitude, huh? And this is the part that a lot of people don't like to talk about. But I'm going to tell you, when you are manifesting as your highest divine self, there is going to be a release period, right? Because for a long time, you've been functioning out of ego. We've all been there. And you've attracted things that have fed your ego. You've attracted people that have fed your ego, that align with your ego. When you are manifesting as your highest divine self and you are in that process, you will have to release a lot of those things and a lot of those people that fed the ego, right? You will have to release. So there will be quite some time that you will need to be in solitude because you are no longer going to be aligned with those egoic friends and family members and activities and environments. It's no longer going to be aligned with you. When you are in that release period, it often looks like you being alone. Right. And you will align with your divine tribe. You will align with people and things and places that are aligned with your highest divine self. So it's all cyclical, right? There's the cipher of it all, right? So it's all a divine cycle, right? Because even as you elevate to your highest divine self, there will still be a portion of solitude, right? Because you just get more comfortable being alone and standing alone, right? But again, you will attract that tribe, you will attract those who are aligned with you, but you have to get comfortable with being in solitude. When you are in solitude, again, that's the time that you get to study yourself. That's the time that you get to cleanse your energy, and that's the time that you really get to feed yourself without having to be concerned about feeding yourself and others, right? There's many benefits to being in solitude. But another benefit to being in solitude is actually going to bring us to our fourth step to aligning with your highest divine self, which is you start to detach from external validation. In order to align and manifest as your highest divine self, you have to detach from external validation. And again, this is one of the benefits of being in solitude. You do not need a crowd to clap for you. You do not need people to pat you on the back and say, good job, good decisions. You do not need the likes. You do not need all of those external validators. Again, your highest divine self knows what's best for you. It wants what's best for you, and it doesn't need the approval of anyone else. Okay, so you do not need external validation. when you are moving in your highest divine self. And again, that's one of those reasons why you just kind of naturally get more comfortable in solitude, because you don't need the friends to always tell you, I agree with you, right? You don't need the yes men or the yes women, the yes people. You don't need, again, the round of applause, the good jobs. You don't need that, because the highest divine self is secure, it's confident, it divinely knows what's best for you, it divinely knows what's well for you. And when you trust your highest divine self, all you need is that knowing. The external validation does not matter. And this is why it's important to detach from the external validation, because oftentimes when you are moving in alignment with your highest divine self, as you make that transition away from your ego and closer to your highest divine self, a lot of those people that you will start to release that are not aligned with your highest divine self, but they were aligned with your ego, they will not understand. And if you are still attached to external validation, you will block yourself from elevating to your highest divine self, because those people who want to keep you in your ego and want to keep you where you were, they want to keep you in the space that fed them and that they were aligned with. Those people are going to try to shame you out of elevating. Those people are going to try to shame you away from your highest divine self, because they need you to stay the same, because who you were is who they are most comfortable with. You see what I'm saying? And if you are still attached to external validation, you're going to believe that shit. You're going to believe it when they tell you you are doing something weird, or you look weird, or you're not being yourself and it's crazy, or you sound crazy, or they disagree with something you're doing. You're going to believe them. If you are still connected to external validation, those boos are going to matter to you, right? Those boos are going to matter to you. So you have to detach from external validation. You have to detach from the desire to be told that you are doing the right thing. When you are doing the work to manifest as your highest divine self, a lot of those people who were comfortable with who you used to be are going to try to bring you back down to keep you where you were, instead of appreciating and valuing your elevation. You cannot be attached to that external validation, which again is another reason why you have to get comfortable with being in solitude. You know you are doing the work to manifest your highest divine self when you could stand in the face of opposition and say, I am sure, I am certain, and I am proud of the decisions I'm making and what I'm doing. Even when I don't know, I know this is what I should be doing. Even when I don't know why I'm drawn to this, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Even though I can't explain to you why I'm doing it or even what I'm doing, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't need your approval, right? That's how you know you are truly doing the work to manifest as your highest divine self. When you know what you know, what you know, with or without the approval of anything or anyone around you, you just know. Because again, and I'm going to keep on repeating this, the highest divine self knows and wants what is best for you, what is for your wellness. The highest divine self knows. Even when you don't understand, you just know. Okay. And the final thing, the final step, the final step to align with your highest divine self, the final step to manifest as your highest divine self, you have to identify intrinsic reinforcers that work for you. And this is my behavior analyst brain working here, right? um, an intrinsic reinforcer. When something is intrinsic, that means it is internal, and it's usually not something physically tangible, right? It's usually not something you can grab, you can hold. Intrinsic means internal. Now, what is a reinforcer? A reinforcer is something that is likely to increase your behavior, right? Now, what is an intrinsic reinforcer? What is a feeling? What is a thought? What is something internally that will likely increase your behaviors The behaviors that are a reflection of your highest divine self, the behaviors that are aligning you with your highest divine self, the behaviors that are attracting manifestations of wellness for you. What are those behaviors and what intrinsically reinforces those behaviors? What makes you feel well about what you're doing internally? Internally, what makes you feel proud of what you're doing internally? What makes you feel certain about what you're doing internally? And it's important for you to identify this, right? Because you have to know how to reinforce yourself. Again, you're no longer attached to external validation from others, but what for you validates you. What intrinsically for you reinforces you and make you proud of you, makes you love you, makes you admire you? What for you are your intrinsic reinforcers, right? So you have to ask yourself that. And it may take some time of, again, being in solitude and studying yourself. It may take some time for you to identify that, but it's going to be important to identify that. Okay. So those are the 5 steps to align. This is the work that you do to align with your highest divine self. Now I want to talk about 5 steps, or excuse me, 5 signs that you are truly manifesting as your highest divine self. What are 5 signs that you are truly manifesting as your highest divine self? Number one, and this is connecting to that intrinsic reinforcement type of knowing, right? Number one, a sign you are manifesting as your highest divine self, you genuinely feel well. Genuinely. You genuinely feel well. I'm talking about from your soul. You genuinely feel well. And whatever wellness looks like and feels like for you, right? For me, you genuinely feel peace and joy and love and abundance and happy and safe, right? You genuinely feel well, genuinely, right? That is a sign that you are manifesting as your highest divine self. You genuinely feel well. It's not performative. It's not just something you're saying because that's what you're supposed to say as a spiritual person. You genuinely feel well, even when no one is looking, even when you're in solitude, when nobody is around, when you ask yourself, how am I? You can genuinely to yourself say, I am well. That's how you know. The second sign that you are manifesting as your highest divine self, you attract things and people that are aligned with that wellness, with your wellness. You naturally attract things and people that are aligned with your wellness. You naturally attract people that are moving in peace and love and joy and happiness and abundance. You naturally attract that. And guess what? You naturally repel. Guess what you naturally repel? Anything that is not aligned with your wellness, you just naturally repel it, right? So, huge sign that you are manifesting as your highest divine self is that the things you attract, the places that you decide or feel comfortable in, the people that you are around is just naturally aligned with your wellness, right? The third sign that you are manifesting as your highest divine self, and listen to me clearly here, you are more decisive and clear about what is aligned with you and what is not. You are more decisive and clear about what is aligned with you and what is not. There is no confusion. Okay, or confusion is very limited, I should say, because again, this is a journey, right? You are very clear about what is aligned with you and what is not. In wellness community, we've been talking about this, or I've been talking about this. And my friend told me yesterday, we've known each other for since college, so over 15 years now. Well, more than 15 years, more. I said over 15 years now. And we were eating dinner yesterday. And a situation, I was telling the waiter what I want, and the waiter was trying to convince me to get something else. And I was like, no, I'm sure that this is what I want. And when the waiter left, she said, I love how you stand on what you wanted. Like, I love how you did that, right? How you advocated for yourself. And wellness community, y'all know I told y'all that that's something that I've been intentional about lately. It's like self advocation because for a long time, as somebody who for a long time has been in full alignment with my highest divine self, I know what I want and I know what's best for me. But something I had to work on was not compromising my wellness to make other people feel comfortable, right? Again, this is a journey. This is a journey. So for a long time, I had to work on not compromising my wellness to make other people feel comfortable. So even in that little moment where I mean, it wasn't tension or frictional, the waiter was just trying to, being a waiter, like, think about this or think about that. I was like, no, I'm sure that this is what I would like. I'm sure, right? I'm certain. Again, when you are moving in alignment with your highest divine self, a huge sign is you are decisive and you are clear. You know exactly who you are. You know exactly what is for your wellness. You know exactly what is not. And then the next step that I'm working on is advocating for that, right? Advocating for my highest divine self, advocating for my wellness and not compromising it to make other people comfortable, right? Again, this is a journey, right? Now, and I have to say that sometimes y'all people don't even realize when they're trying to make you compromise on your wellness because they're trying to advocate for their comfortability, right? So sometimes they don't even realize it. So again, this it's not always intentional. It's not always like because I think that oftentimes in the spiritual community, in the wellness, the holistic wellness spaces, oftentimes there's this paranoia that people are trying to pull you down and people are trying to hurt you or harm you. Oftentimes it's not that, right? Oftentimes people are just trying to move in what they feel is wellness for them and they're just trying to make themselves comfortable. So sometimes they may try to get you to bend or fold or compromise in order to benefit them. But let me tell y'all something from experience. There is a way that we can both be well. Wellness can coexist, right? Wellness can coexist. And that's always the space that we have to all get to, right? There's a way that we can both be well, that we can all be well. Wellness can coexist, right? So again, that takes a level of understanding and practice. And the fifth, am I on five? I'm on four. Four. The fourth sign that you are manifesting as your highest divine self, you feel safe, grounded in your wellness and balanced in attachment versus detachment, right? You feel safe, you feel secure, you feel protected, you feel confident, you feel grounded in your wellness, right? Again, that comes with the knowledge of self, that comes with the knowing who you are, right? And you feel balanced in your attachment versus detachment because it's important. Shout out to the Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra, where one of the laws is the law of detachment, which is important. It's a huge step, an important step in the process of manifesting anything, including your highest divine self. But there's also an attachment that you just naturally have. And what does attachment mean and look like to you? And what are you attached to? Right. So you have to feel when you are truly manifesting as your highest divine self, you have a good balance between attachment and detachment. There are certain things that you must be detached from and that you must let go. And there are certain things and certain people you are deeply attached to and are deeply connected to. And still, even with those attachments, you have no problem releasing when necessary, right? So what does balanced attachment versus detachment look like for you, right? And again, that's going to look different for everybody. Everybody is attached to different things and to different people and for different reasons, right? But what does it look like to have a healthy balance for you? But when you are manifesting as your highest divine self, you are thriving in that balance, right? Now, the fifth sign that you are manifesting as your highest divine self, life feels like ease and divine flow. Life is easy and you are moving in divine flow. It is easy. Period. That's it. That's all. That is a huge sign that you are manifesting as your highest divine self. Ease, flow. That's it. I was at an event. I went to a few events last week, and a common theme that I've noticed, and I want y'all to pay attention to this, right? And I understand. I think again, I never try to. I'm very intentional about not assuming that anybody's intentions is bad, right? I believe that the intention when people do what I'm about to say is that they are trying to show connection and they're trying to show understanding, right? But something that I've noticed a lot when people are speaking over crowds, especially in recent times, they're saying things like, well, everybody broke now, so this did it. We everybody's struggling in here, so we all did it. And with all due respect, oh, my friend was laughing because I be whispering to myself. I rebuke that. Not me. I don't know who you talking about. Not I. I don't claim that energy. No, no, no. Right. And again, I think their intention is to try to connect and try to show understanding of like the economic state of the world and things like that. But I don't attach myself to that hardship. I don't attach myself to that struggle. One person said, "Well, we all tired and worn out, but we gonna finish out strong." I said, I rebuke that. I don't claim that. We ain't all tired and worn out. I don't claim that. I don't claim that. Right? I don't claim that. And I think that they're trying to show understanding and connection because of the economic state of the world. But you have to be mindful of the energy that you accept in your life, right? Because when you are manifesting as your highest divine self, you are not manifesting in struggle, in hardship, in broke energy, and being weary and tired and worn down. That ain't it, right? You are, again, you're moving in alignment with wellness, and wellness attracts abundance. Wellness attracts ease. Wellness attracts joy. Wellness attracts divine flow. That is the vibration of true wellness, right? So you I genuinely do not receive that, and I don't agree with that, and no, I'm not any of those things that you just named, right? And I'm very intentional about letting the universe know I ain't in that we. I ain't in that we. Universe, I see what you're doing for me. I pray you do it for others. I'm not in that we. Okay. I'm not gonna reach out and claim that. I'm pushing that away. Because again, when you are manifesting as your highest divine self, there's a natural ease and a natural divine flow you feel. Okay. And I know people say, because life is going life, but even when life be life in, you manage it with ease in divine flow and you understand it as a part of the divine flow and you're able to extract the lessons from that and still function in wellness, right? So that is how you know. It's not to say that you won't experience things, but even experiencing those things is not struggle, pain, strife, weariness, and sickness and death. It's possible to experience things and still be well, right? I will tell y'all this quick story and then we're going to end. When I was in Bali, my guru in Bali, he told me I could tell he was physically sick. I could tell he physically had a cold, right? And this was years ago. I want to say that I went to Bali maybe like 2018. I think 2018. I went to Bali, and he told me, and it's so crazy because this was right before the pan. Well, not right before the panty, but 2018, right before the pan. And he clearly had a cold, right? And he clearly was like scratchy throat, all of those things, and he's teaching still. And I said, Guru, do you want to rest? Like, are you okay? He said, I am well. And then he still was going. And I'm talking about he drinking tea and I'm like, Guru, you don't want to lay down? You want some ginger? You want some? He said, I am well. So finally, I asked him right after like the 15th time of me checking on him throughout his teaching. I said, Guru, why? I could tell that physically, like you have a cold or something. Why do you keep saying, I am well? He said, because I am well. Even with this, whatever is physically happening, I am well, even with this. I am well. I'm okay. I'm well. And I in the moment, I was like, I was fascinated, right? But I was still curious. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Right? Like, explain to me how can you be well and your body is physically sick? And he said, because what is physically happening with my body does not determine if I have joy, if I am happy. It does not determine if I can teach. If it does not determine that I know what I know. It does not determine my knowledge. It does not determine anything. So I am well. I'm teaching, I'm speaking, I'm me. I am well. And and when he said it, I completely understood it. But throughout life after that, I really understood it. Throughout experiences and experiencing lifing, I still understood it even better and deeper from personal experience of what it means to experience certain things, including physical sickness, experiencing certain things, including transitions of family members, right? Experiencing certain things, including moves and things like that. And no matter what environment, no matter who's around, no matter what's going on, I am well, right? I am well. And that's the ease and that's the divine flow. Right? That's the ease and that's the divine flow. So I hope that that kind of makes some type of sense, right? And always remember that, like, especially, physical sickness is one of the lightest challenges of life is physical sickness. And I know that this can sound a bit crazy when you are experiencing very severe physical sickness. Trust me, I understand, right? But the thing about it is, there's different type. There's mental illness. There's different things that can be very you know, uh, uh, cumbersome, right? But when you are experiencing a cold or you're experiencing something, do a spiritual check. How is my spirit? And when you realize that your spirit is still intact, no matter what's happening in your physical environment, no matter what's happening to your physical body, when you realize that your spirit is still intact, you realize just how good life is. And you realize the divine flow and the ease, and you realize what true wellness is, right? But I will tell you, don't wait until you get sick to realize that your spirit is well, right? Recognize it while you are well because wellness attracts wellness. Sometimes people do not really appreciate their wellness until it is gone. Okay. And people do not really tend to their spirit until the physical is done and they have no choice but to tend to their spirit. So I urge you, don't wait until your physical is not well to appreciate spiritual wellness. Appreciate spiritual wellness while you have physical wellness so that you can continue to align with the vibration of holistic wellness. You see what I'm saying? But all right, family, I really wanted to share that. I wanted to share the 5 keys to identify your highest divine self, 5 steps to manifest as your highest divine self, and 5 signs to know that you are aligned with your highest divine self and you have manifested as your highest divine self. Okay, family, I love y'all deeply. Happy 11/11. Again, happy Veterans Day. And be intentional, right? Because 11/11 is a powerful day for manifestation. So be intentional to take some time to identify what wellness looks like and feels like for you. Who is your highest divine self, and what does your highest divine self look like and feel like and know for sure, right? Gaining knowledge of self. What do you like and not like? What do you enjoy and not enjoy? What is joy and peace and love and abundance for you? Identify those aspects of your highest divine self and manifest that. Put a candle on that. Put some work down on that, right? And never forget that when you are moving from spirit, You are not moving from a place of harsh judgment. You move from love. You think from love. You function and operate from love. Okay? So remember that. Remember that. You treat people with love. You receive people with love, and you don't take anything personal. Don't take anything personal. You function from a space of awareness, right? And a part of that awareness is even being aware of when other people are not necessarily functioning from their highest divine self. So you're not judging them and you're not superior or better than them. You just don't take their projections personal, right? Because again, when you are in your highest divine self, you are secure and confident in who you are. So their projections won't even bother you because you are not attached to their validation. Remember that, right? So because you are aware, you are forgiving. You give grace. It doesn't mean you have to accept no foolishness, but you are forgiving. You give grace. And again, your highest divine self knows what's well for you. So you know also when to move on. Okay. So function in love and function in grace and function in forgiveness, but also function in protection of your wellness and know when to move on. Okay, family. I love y'all dearly. Happy 11/11. Happy Veterans Day. Wellness community. I'll put these notes in the Patreon right now as soon as this is over. I love y'all dearly, and I will see y'all tomorrow, Wellness community. For Eddie, huh? For Eddie and YouTube family, I will see y'all likely next week to discuss our upcoming new moon. Okay, much love, family, much peace, and enjoy y'all day.